include Jesus and all the preceding messengers that came, because when you take this testimony, the shahada, right away, it doesn't exclude Jesus. And this is, I don't know if you've already learned by now, that it's a pillar. It's actually, the belief in Jesus is something that every Muslim has to love and revere Jesus as a mighty messenger. Otherwise, you exit Islam.
Yeah, it's actually amazing how, in many ways, like you're saying, Jesus is one part of it, but in many ways, obviously there's key differences, but in many ways, there's a lot of similarities. And it's kind of funny to me, whereas Christianity in the modern world has become such a laughingstock. And it has been, because people don't practice it in any kind of strict way anymore, really. And people say, oh, Islam's so strict. And I say, look, a lot of the rules of Islam are also in the Bible. You're a Christian who's never read it. Like, you've never read your own Bible. You don't know what your own rules are. So it's amazing how similar a lot of the tenets of the two religions are. It's just Islam and Muslims are the last people who take it seriously and practice it in a way it should be practiced and respect it. And that's why I think I first kind of went viral in the Islamic world when I said, look, I have so much respect for Muslims as a whole and the way they view their faith and how seriously they take it. I don't understand why you have these girls who call themselves Christians and they're drinking on Saturday night, meeting boys, doing whatever, and then going to church on the next day. That doesn't feel real to me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into that video now and take some clips from it, and you can watch yourself. I was going to do a breakdown of this, but I said, why not have the man on himself?
Hey, you can do a breakdown. Do a breakdown while I'm here. I'd love to hear it, bro. You can do a breakdown.
Here, let's go ahead. You'll help me with it.
Islam fixes a lot of the problems that men are currently facing. Yeah. The problems we're discussing on this show, Islam fixes all of them, right? That's the first thing about Islam. And I'm not a Muslim, right? If I had to choose a religion, I would, because I live in an Orthodox Christian country, I go to the Orthodox Christian church. I donate $20,000 a month to the church in the country I live in. The church in Romania is very powerful, and I like having church friends. So I give them a lot of money, right? So I would guess I'm an Orthodox Christian. But if I had to bet on one religion as if I were betting on the stock market for the future, you have to bet on Islam.
That's deep.
What do you think? What do you think of my analysis? I
love it. I mean, this is, you actually, did you have a lot of Muslims contacting you after this? I mean, they were sharing. I was getting this video from my team, on WhatsApp, all over the place.
I was getting crazy messages all over Instagram, lots and lots of messages, and I think a lot of people were very surprised by what I said. But it's very true. I mean, what I say is the Islamic faith, and I've said it already on this podcast, it's taken seriously. It's respected by its tenets, and it's very much like, let me give an analogy. If you don't respect your own house, if you walk into somebody's house and it's a mess, you're not going to worry about making a mess or about cleaning up after yourself or leaving a cup on the coffee table, right? But if you walk into someone's house and it's pristine, then you're going to be very, very concerned about making a mess. And Muslims have so much respect for themselves that people automatically respect the religion as a whole, whereas Christians don't. And this is the thing. We talk about things having longevity. We talk about things lasting into the future, especially religions as a whole. If you become tolerant of everything to the point where, like Christianity is now, where they say, oh, we're tolerant. Well, if you're so tolerant you ignore your own book, then what are you? Do you know where I'm coming from? Absolutely. And that's why I have so much so much respect for the Islamic faith. And that's why it's the one I would bet on. And when I say bet on, I mean, I know Muslims will be here in 100 years. What does Christian mean today? Very little. What's it going to mean in 100 years? Nothing. Let's be honest, right? So that's also another really interesting way to look at it, because then I start to look at things and say, okay, well, you have to choose which religion or which faith you believe is the true faith. But if one faith survives and the other faith is annihilated in real time, that tells you a lot as well, doesn't it? Doesn't that tell you a lot?
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting for me. It's like I have not made any kind of final decisions, etc., but I try and analyze things from a very, very logical perspective. I know God exists, and then you go, okay, God exists, and there's all these different interpretations of God as such, but the only one I see which has a warrior class that people fear is Islam. That's the only one there is.
Mm-hmm. Let's continue on here.
I respect that about them. I respect that. That's an amazing thing about them, right? And the third point is, and I've been all around the world, some of the best countries in the world today are the first world Muslim nations.
Yeah.
Qatar, you can go to Qatar, you can fall asleep with $1 million on your lap in the middle of the street. nothing's going to happen to you.
Saudi Arabia as
you
well.
You can go to Saudi, nothing will happen to you. You can go to Dubai, UAE, nothing's going to happen to you.
They leave their cars parked with the keys inside.
It's so safe.
Wow.
You know, we often hear, Andrew, you know, people end up hearing that, oh, if you go out to that part of the world, they're going to chop your head off. They create this fear and anxiety, you know, for people living in America. But now you're talking about something totally the antithesis to this. You're talking about so safe. And you said something that if you could fall asleep in Qatar with $1 million on your lap, literally, and it'd still be there.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. Yeah, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble in those countries if you turn up and disrespect the country as a whole. But why would you do that, right? If you turn up and you show the appropriate respect, you're not going to have trouble in these places at all. All of the trouble that exists in the West, I often say, like, it's kind of strange when you discuss crimes as a whole, right? It's kind of interesting to me that the Western democracies have always sold this lie that you're safe from the government if it's a democracy. Well, that's not true. That's been proven in real time recently, right? Canada's proved that. Australia's proved that. America's proved that. So you're never safe from your government. So a democracy as a whole is no safer to exist under than a kingdom, like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, or a dictatorship. You're no safer under a democracy. So we can remove that element, the whole idea that they're not democratic, because democracy doesn't provide anything or help anything in terms of safety from the government. But what a democracy does do is cause so much fraction and so much disintegration amongst the society that now you have to not only fear your government, you have to fear the normal people on the street. It's crazy. I read yesterday in LA, they're telling people no longer to wear jewelry. They're advertising on the news, don't wear jewelry.
Wow.
It's incredible. And this is the richest country in the world, right? Mm-hmm. And you go to these poor countries, but because people, like we just discussed, because people are religious, because people have a higher purpose, because they see beyond the material goods of only this world, it's a very safe place to be. I've been to these places and I feel completely, perfectly safe. Yes, of course I could get my hand chopped off if I'm an idiot. But why? But I would rather exist in a society where I know the lines and I know the boundaries and I know how I get myself in trouble and not do it than exist in New York City where I can be obeying the law and just be in the wrong place at the wrong time and get a drive-by. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, yeah.
These places are absolutely safe, and they're safe because they've maintained the basic structure of family, the basic structure, and the basic structure. That's all it is. When you maintain the basic structure of family, you maintain the basic structure of society.
Yep.
And that's all it is, right? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of amazing as well in first world Muslim nations, when you maintain the family structure, people also don't want to bring shame upon their family. Mm-hmm. So the family do a lot of policing. They don't want to have a member of their family that's out there committing crime, right? So like the West is broken on so many levels. And that's what I was kind of saying in that video, is that a lot of the problems are fixed by Islam as a whole. And the first world Muslim nations are proof of it. I think a lot of people think that Muslim countries are dangerous because of a lot of the war in the Middle East. But the war in the Middle East is propagated by the West anyway. That's America's fault. So, it's crazy, really.
How did you feel? Would you feel welcomed? Obviously, you've been there for a long time, Dubai. How did you feel now with the community, people welcoming, the hospitality, etc.?
It's amazing. Like, Dubai is the least racist place on the planet. I think 90% of the people there are from other places. You can be black, white, Filipinos are there, Vietnamese are there. Everyone's there from everywhere. Americans, everyone's there. It's amazing that you have a city which is statistically so safe with all these different people from all these different places, right? And they've done that by just maintaining some kind of social cohesion. You can't have degeneracy all around you 24/7 without degenerating as a person, right? And that's what's happened in the Western world. To a degree, Christianity used to keep the Western world in check, but the Christianity's become so weak it doesn't mean anything anymore. And we're living in a situation now where if you want to go somewhere where you know that you can exist in a wholesome environment, I mean that when you go outside, you're going to see families, man, woman, some children. It's going to be fairly wholesome. You're not going to see any kind of degeneracy. You're not going to see anything strange, anything weird. You're not going to see like any of the crazy crap you would see walking down a street in LA. You're just not going to see it. And Dubai tries very, very hard to prevent degeneracy while also allowing people from all around the world to come live in safety and work hard and make a good life for themselves. And they've done it all under the guise of Islam. I have so much respect for that.
Women, everyone's married. Every woman obeys her husband. Every single woman has 4, 5, 6 kids. Big families. All the things we're talking about, all the problems we have here, right? They've got none of that. None of it. Because of Islam. Islam keeps society in the role where women obey their man. Women have children. Women have big families. Women are exceptionally happy to do so.
Yes.
Before some Western girl comes in here and runs her mouth, the Islamic women are happier than any you're going to see in the club tonight.
They're very true.
They're happy. Society is functioning. Their population is growing because in most Western countries, the population is declining.
Yep. Tim Cass was talking about it today. I was talking. We were
Two
showed it on
people
the
have
boat.
one kid. Doesn't work. Doesn't work, right? Two people need to have 3.1 kids because people die, right? People die prematurely, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So we have population problems in the West. They have none of the population problems. Society is functioning. And that's what society is. Society starts at the smallest possible group. You have families, and families make a street, and that street makes a village, and that village makes a town, that town makes a city, and that city makes a country.
That's a beautiful example that you just gave, where we seem like people are going away from this. You gave this example how there's like a hierarchy. You have the husband running the house, then the wife, and there's some structure there. And people are having children. We see a lot of people walking dogs over here.
Yeah, well, I mean,
nothing against dogs. I'm not saying, but you seem like people have are taking more pets than children nowadays.